fat and full and a very beautiful, delicate shade of pink, just starting to push up out of that green bud. And when I see those beautiful pink buds that are just about to pop into full bloom, that's when I remember why this beautiful bush is called Christmas cheer, because their lovely flowers bring smiles full of joy, right, and radiance, just like that very special season of Christmas. When I meditate on this season, I very quickly begin to think about what I'm especially grateful for, who I'm grateful for in my life, especially during the many long weeks of gray, overcast days. And as I meditate on the flowering rhodies, the sure-footed robins, the tiny, brave crocus buds, guess what? I'm also reminded of spring, that wonderful season of new beginnings. I like to think of spring as the queen of making a new start. Think about it. If spring were a person, she would ask you, what gives you life? What gives you life? Right? What makes you want to push up out of the ground, new, fresh? She might also ask something like, what satisfies you? Where can you make room for more satisfaction in your life? What do you need to let go of in order to make room for what you want more of in your life? What's on your to-do list that you need to simply say no to? What no longer serves you in this season of your life? You can also ask yourself this question: where do I want to be? Where do I want to be? Now, that's a great question, isn't it? You know, most folks just sort of wander through life without asking any questions of themselves at all. They just accept the hand that life deals to them. But you know what? If you want your life to be different, you have to act differently. And one key step is to ask yourself these two great questions. Where am I now? That's the first question. Where am I now? And the second question is, where do I want to be? Right? Where am I now? And where do I want to be? Both of these questions are all about vision. As a leadership coach and consultant, I have supported many people for many years who ask these very same questions. Where am I now? And where do I want to be? You can ask them of yourself as an individual. You can ask them of a team. You can ask them of an organization, right? Now, most of you know that I used to be a leader in corporate America, and I supported folks using these very same questions. Where are you now? And where do you want to be? Where do you want to go? Two very simple questions that can yield incredible, life-transforming results. Pretty amazing, isn't it? So whether you're working on organizational strategy, building a better team, or building a better you, those two questions will help you move in the direction you want to go. So, as I mentioned earlier, these questions are all about vision. And they're so important to making a new start, right? Having a vision, creating the life you want. You have to start with a vision. Sometimes you call it having a dream, okay? But it's having something in front of you, something to strive for, something to guide your actions, okay, and to guide your choices. So let's put first things first. To make a new start, you've got to have a dream. You've got to have a vision. And once you have your dream, you can visualize it. You can pray about it. You can meditate and recite daily affirmations about your vision, about your dream. You can even set goals and create action plans. All of these strategies will help move you closer to achieving your vision, to achieving your dreams. But to actually make your dreams to become a reality, okay, to make your dreams come true, there's one thing and only one thing that's essential. And what's that? Well, you have to act on them. That's right. Okay, you got to act. Okay? Because when you do, when you act, then providence moves too. Providence moves to support you in making your dreams come true. One of my many inspirations for this show is my very own daughter. As a little girl, she was very clear about what she wanted in life, very clear about her vision, right? Now, I wouldn't have called it that then, and she certainly wouldn't have called it that, but that's exactly what it was. She didn't have her life all planned out at that young age, but I remember when she was in her teens, she was about 13 or 14 years old, one day she just came in and declared that she did not want to go to college at home, meaning here in her home state. Her declaration seemed to come out of the blue, but clearly my daughter had been thinking about this for quite some time. She had been considering what she wanted for her life, and at that young age, she set her sights on going to college on the East Coast. She wanted a different experience and a different life. In short, she wanted to make a new start for herself, right? And several years later, when the time was right, she applied to and was accepted at a number of colleges where? On the East Coast, several thousand miles from home. My husband and I took her to visit several colleges there, and when she found the one that felt like home to her, right, a new home, she was ready to begin again. Without knowing a single soul, she moved across the country and made a new start. She made a new life for herself, not once, not twice, but actually several times during the past decade. And you know what? When I think about other folks in my family, there are so many stories about people making a new start. For example, I've shared with you before that my immediate family, my siblings, my mom and dad, are all part of what we call the Great Migration, right? That mass exodus of African Americans leaving the southern states to make a new start in the northern states. And even before the stories about the Great Migration, there are stories I remember hearing when I was a little girl, stories that came through my elders' voices, right? Those who remember relatives who had a memory of stories about slavery, who had a memory of their fathers and mothers making a new start in a new country, of their fathers and mothers, right? So we're talking several generations back, making a new start in totally new surroundings, in a totally different culture and place, 10,000 miles from their homeland of Africa. And you know what? When I reflect back on my own life, I have made a new start many, many times. My parents couldn't afford to pay for me to attend an East Coast college. I was accepted, but we simply didn't have the money, so I couldn't go. But when I went to grad school, I attended on scholarship. And just like my own daughter, I also left home to attend university, many, many hundreds of miles from Michigan. I went to California to go to grad school, right, with no network to speak of, no prospects for work, and yet I was able to make a new start. What I know is that when you want to begin again, when you want to make a fresh start, one of the most helpful things you can have is a vision for what's possible. Okay? I want you to make sure that you heard what I said. I didn't say that you have to have a goal or a plan Okay? I said you have to have a vision for what's possible. That's where you start. Along with your vision, you also need one more thing. And I call it the one sure thing. The one sure thing. Okay? Now, a vision can be very abstract, very conceptual. Sometimes the details aren't there, but you have a big idea of where you want to go. That's what we're calling a vision. And along with that vision, the one sure thing that you also need is commitment. Commitment to your vision, to your dream. Okay? Now, I said the word commitment. William H. Murray, a Scottish mountaineer and writer, says this about commitment. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. I'm going to repeat that because this is the most important part. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. Murray goes on to say, concerning all acts of initiative and creation, there is one elementary truth, the ignorance of which kills countless ideas and splendid plans. That the moment one definitely commits oneself, then providence moves too. All sorts of things occur to help one that would never otherwise have occurred. A whole stream of events issues from the decision, raising in one's favor all manner of unforeseen incidents and meetings and material assistance, which no man, or woman for that matter, could have dreamed would have come his or her way. He goes on to say, I have learned a deep respect for one of Goethe's couplets. Whatever you can do or dream you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Whatever you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So, in other words, action plus commitment equals magic and genius. Okay? Good arithmetic. Action plus commitment equals magic and genius. When you begin, when you commit, it is as if the universe suddenly starts to cooperate with you. But, you know what? It's not all of a sudden. It seems all of a sudden, but it isn't. The reason that it seems all of a sudden is because we have begun. We have committed. And when we do, when we begin, when we commit, God moves too. That's what Murray means by providence. Right? God moves too. But you know what? Providence will move only when you do. Now, if you still doubt in some way, if you only act some of the time, or if you work your plan A and then your plan B at the same time because you're afraid that plan A will fail, guess what? Success. Achieving your dream, your vision, not plan A or plan B, right, but your big vision, success might very well slip through your fingers. It will just possibly escape you. But once you really commit, once you let go, once you really say bye-bye to what's behind you and you really go for it, magic begins to happen. So, let me ask you this. What are you waiting for? Go for it. Jump. Now. Stop procrastinating. Begin today. There are so many folks out there who know the value of going for it, right? Who know the benefit of commitment. But for whatever reason, fear stops them.